Thank you. Thank you, Richard. Wow, I hope you had the sumptuous lunch. And I know you are busog kayong lahat, di ba? And just a very simple one. I guess some already left, or maybe they have some appointments. Can you check the one on your left? Is still the same seatmate this morning? Or you say hello to him or hello to her? And the one on your right, you say hello to him or hello to her? Or maybe you have not exchanged cards? It's not the way to do business, but at least you know each other. Okay? Okay, okay. So, good afternoon to everyone. Ay, mukhang gutom pa. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm glad our PCCI chairman, George Barcelon, endorsed to me your invitation to speak on transport and logistics. Actually, it was given to me only last week. And I just came back from Guam for a business trip. This is a topic that is very close to my heart, primarily for two reasons. First, I head and am the founder of a logistic company called Eagle Express, a company I proudly put in 1987, initially with a staff of 7 employees. It was literally and figuratively a one-table company, one telephone affair. We have grown by leaps and bounds and currently has a total manpower complement of 217 personnel. Ayaw ba niyong palakpakan yan? My 7 original employees, they're now stockholders of our company. We value our own people as we value our customers. Credit to our people, to our hard-working people. I believe that Eagle's success represented the concerted effort of its people. The core group laid down the foundation, but it was not, of course, a movement from the top. Success does not come from that direction. Eagle Express is better known as a one-stop transportation company. We're engaged in the business of diversified freight forwarding operations, operate as a multimodal transport operator, and provide a comprehensive logistical and information technology support to all profit centers of the organization. We are likewise a shipping agent and international shipping lines like regional container lines and lately MOL. We are likewise a shipping. Once a customer steps into our office, he does not have to look for support services to achieve his desired objective, be it import or export, Seafreight, air freight, or combined sea and air. And second, I am the director, as mentioned by Richard, for transport logistics in the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And this is primarily because among the members of our board of directors, modesty aside, I'm the only one engaged in transport and logistics business. PCCI, as you may know, is an organization that prides itself to the voice of business. We are probably the only business organization that has presence all over the country, and hence have a membership composition that reflects the Philippine economy, that is 96% MSME and 4% large enterprises. I say we are represented because there are 123 local chambers all over the country. And for North Luzon, we have 23 chambers. South Luzon, we have 22. NCR, or the Metro Manila, we have 15. In Visayas, we have 21. And in Mindanao, we have 43 local chambers. For this reason, PCCI always aims to strive a balance between the position of large and small companies, foreign and local investors, service providers, and the industry users or consumers. And because of this representation, with the invitation made to us as PCCI, I will be talking both on behalf of the service providers, of which I belong, and the users, traders, importers, exporters, especially the small businesses. Having been in the logistics industry for 32 years, maybe I started 5, and with PCCI for over 20 years now, I've come to understand and appreciate how the logistics industry could be a force to accelerate economic growth, especially trade through an efficient and cost-effective supply chain management and service. Logistics and connectivity are key to competitiveness. Effective and efficient logistics and connectivity are key to a country's regional and global competitiveness. All of us in this room understand this, I guess. Competitive and efficient logistics services are directly associated with larger trade volumes and economic growth. Especially in developing countries like us, highly quality logistics facilities are crucial to connect micro, small, and medium enterprises to regional and international supply chains and consumers worldwide at a faster pace. Even within our borders, for an archipelagic country like ours, logistic performance has significant impact on our growth and productivity. We have large domestic market with rising disposable income, but this is spread out across different islands in the archipelago. We can take advantage of our large population only if we have an efficient transportation and logistics service. Our transport system is intermodal in character. This means inter-island as well as intra-island mobility that typically combines air, sea, and road transport modes. Having an efficient logistics system is therefore one of the strategies that is seen to greatly facilitate trade and connectivity, contribute to the lowering costs and clearance time of imports and exports, and ensure the smooth flow of commodities. Once perceived to be stable and reliable, an efficient logistics service would encourage market expansion and improvement of the investors' confidence in transporting goods and services. Ultimately, this will translate into productivity gains which our country needs to achieve its ambitious development objectives. Supply chain services, constraints, and barriers to competitiveness. Today, however, we are experiencing an increasing number of constraints pertaining to the delivery of private sector supply chain services, as mentioned by DEFCON D earlier. First, our country has the highest logistic costs among the ASEAN member countries. A study made by the International Finance Corporation of the World Bank Group last year says logistic costs ate up about 27% of the sales of manufacturing firms in the Philippines. Indonesia was 21%, Vietnam has 16.3%, and Thailand at 11.1%. In terms of cost-sales ratio, companies whose products were considered low value were more adversely affected. For example, logistic costs for electronics do not significantly matter because the value of the products is high. But for goods like rice, cassava, fruits, and vegetable, even 1% increase is a big issue. Good for electronics is our top export product. But if we want to diversify our export products and improve the lot of our agricultural sector, the cost of our logistics has to be improved. Remember, the Philippines is still a predominantly an agricultural country. Despite the fact that it contributes only around 20% to our GDP growth, the sector employs about 40% of the workforce. A report by the Department of Trade and Industry also showed that countries' logistical costs around for 24% to 53% of wholesale prices, while slipping the port handling costs over 8 to 30%, depending on the goods route, and roughly 5% of the retail price of goods. Second, the IFC-MB study found issues in the reliability of logistics sector. Within our country, the ability of a transport company to deliver goods in full and on time is low, particularly for construction materials. I guess you will agree. Chemical products, food, and electronics. This reliability issue forces manufacturers to rely on inventory and warehouses, further increasing the logistic costs for the users. These figures are reflected in our ranking in the Logistics Performance Index of the World Bank. We place now 60 among 160 countries in trade logistics performance in 2017. This is actually a jump. We have to be happy from 71 first spot in 2016. The scorecard ranks countries based on a set of criteria, including efficiency of the clearance by border control agencies, including customs, quality of trade and transport-related infrastructure, ease of arranging competitively priced shipments, competence and quality of logistics services, ability to track and trace consignments, and timeliness of shipments in reaching destination within the scheduled or expected delivery time. In the defense of the logistics industry, let me highlight that the industry's weak performance is mostly attributed to the inadequate and relatively poor quality of our infrastructure, including ports and internet connectivity. The restrictive and incoherent regulatory framework, as can be seen in the case of Philippine ports, where the regulator is also the port developer and operator of relevant logistic modes in the supply chain, and the absence of a regulatory agency over international shipping lines. What is the economic impact of this inefficient logistics service? The efficiency of the ports matters because their costs account for a larger part of maritime transport costs, which providers and traders usually shoulder by way of increase of shipping charges. Delays due to the inefficiency can also lead to higher inventory costs and even loss of business opportunities. We're seeing this happening even as I speak. Since September last year, Portusers, or the private sector stakeholders, have been raising the alarm of congestion of the ports. The slow queuing time in the loading and unloading of cargoes in Manila's international terminals has resulted to unmet deliveries and additional shipping charges on top of the already high shipping rates. In 2014, we have faced the same issue, with the result that import and export growth fell for 2 consecutive months. This year, Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Ernie Pernia himself admitted that the port congestion experienced in the past few months played a part of the country's lackluster trade of performance in 2018. A quick analysis by our PCCI Transport Committee, headed by Dr. Henry Basilio, our chairman, showed that surcharges resulting from challenges in our transport and logistics services cost the economy roughly $2 billion a year. And our source is based on the study of the National Competitiveness Council together with the Export Development Council. This has and continue to undermine our country's export competitiveness by increasing the cost of importing raw materials and intermediate goods. This is especially hard for small exporters and importers who have difficulty negotiating for better rates and terms. This is also undermines the competitiveness of domestic producers vis-a-vis our imported products because it increases the cost of importing raw materials and intermediate products. On the part of domestic consumers, we Filipinos, they have to pay a higher price for imported products for final consumption, since added import costs are passed on to them. This also impacts on government revenues. By transferring costs from the foreign shippers to the consignees, government might lose revenues from income taxes as the consignees will declare these charges as costs and allowable expense in their books, thereby reducing their taxable income. If those charges by their nature being paid are misdeclared as something else and are not added to the dutiable landed cost of imports, it impairs the right of government to collect the right amount of taxes from the importers. From the perspective of the private sector competitiveness, the ability of the companies to connect effectivity to international market depends on the performance of their supply chain. Inefficient services can delay exports, which can affect the ability of the traders to meet the just-in-time needs for their customers and prevent them from taking part in the growing number of global production networks. The quality of supply chain services is thus a key factor in national trade competitiveness. Being that I'm not from the government, I cannot report the full extent of what our government is doing to address the ports and corresponding logistics and cost issue that I mentioned earlier. But I can assure you that several measures are already being done to address in the Philippine ports inefficiencies and lack of international competitiveness. What is the good news? Actually, last February 14, as mentioned also by DEPCOM I&D, they have already a joint administrative order. Hopefully, this will be signed by the President, which the subject is regulating the application of local charges, origin and destination fees imposed by the international shipping lines to comply with existing laws and international commercial terminology, Incoterms, establishing guidelines, therefore, and to improve productivity in the handling of cargoes. Basically, it will cover two important issues: port congestion and the local charges imposed by the international shipping lines. And this is created by an interagency task force to craft a joint administrative order that will address the above cited issues I mentioned. And these are DTI, DOF, DOTR, BOC, BIR, PPA, Marina, and SBMA. Ayaw ba niyong palakpakan yan? Philippine logistics, an ever-evolving industry. Let me now wear my hat and talk to you as industry practitioner and service provider. My earlier presentation confirms that our target to grow our trade and improve our competitiveness require the efficient flow of resources and commodities within the country as well as with other countries. As our trade with other countries grow, as e-commerce grows, as mentioned by the previous speakers, our logistics and warehousing services must be able to support and complement that growth to efficiently connect products to markets, our local industries with the domestic and global supply chains. E-commerce is booming, as mentioned by the previous speakers. Alibaba started the trend. Now we have Lazada, we have Shopee, Zalora, and all those other online shopping that I see my own employees, even my son, getting addicted to just because of their easy convenience versus having to spend a lot of time navigating Metro Manila's traffic just to buy a simple household or personal item. Road freight has become the most convenient mode of transport for such shopping experience. On the other hand, the increase in demand for industrial commodities has accelerated the size of the freight forwarding market in the country. This was driven by the growth in manufacturing, retail, wholesale, construction, agriculture, and mining. A study by Ken Research titled Philippine Logistics and Warehouse Market Outlook for 2023 showed that land transport dominated the overall freight forwarding industry, accounting for a maximum revenue share in the overall logistics markets in 2017, followed by air and water transport, respectively. With the build infrastructure program of our government, we expect a boom in the cargo transportation industry. So what is my concluding statement? The future is bright for all of us. Yes, there is a slowdown in global trade, but that should not stop us. E-commerce has expanded opportunities to logistics players to expand their business across the country and across the globe. New disruptive technologies such as robotics, drones, autonomous trucks, and real-time tracking are set to improve the efficiency and accuracy of logistics and improve customer service. The Department of Trade and Industry has released the Philippine e-commerce roadmap in cooperation with the Freight Forwarding Association for 2016-2020, which lays down a strategic recommendation to optimize the opportunities of e-commerce. DTI has likewise unveiled the National Logistics Master Plan, setting out complementary measures, establishing an efficient transport and logistics sector that will contribute towards a robust and resilient Philippine economy. All these new technologies and the programs laid down by the government shall be able to allow the logistics sector to serve as enabler of manufacturing, agriculture, and service industries. For a logistics sector providing service to customers with the right product at the right time, price and quality, and in reliable manner. Thank you for listening and magandang hapon sa inyo lahat. Mabuhay ang PCCI, mabuhay ang Pilipinas, at mabuhay tayong lahat.